So may our being together today create more and more this world, this universe in a way which is consistent with the qualities of our true nature, the qualities of openness, of okayness, of lovingness, of beauty, of truth and joy. And may each one of us move faster and faster and closer to that true nature which is ultimately us. And out of that, the whole world is transformed. The whole world moves towards peace and love and joy. So, um, okay, maybe, right. So, any questions that anyone has? Just what is.
आवाज थोड़ा कम आ रही है, थोड़ा सा
Acha.
वॉल्यूम.
Okay, sure. Okay, great. Better? Yeah. So let us begin with just reconnecting with our true selves, with our innermost, always present beingness that we are. So put your attention on whatever is the uppermost in your mind right now, whether it is a thought, a feeling, a body sensation, the sound of my voice, whatever is uppermost. Just bring your attention to that feeling, that thought. Switch attention to some other aspect of whatever your mind is drawn to. So, switching between attention between a thought, a feeling, a perception, a sensory perception, or a thought, or a feeling. And even within the sensory perception, switching between the sense of touch, whatever you may be touching, sensation of your body, sensation of balance, of sitting where you are, sensation of hearing, or any sensation of any kind in the body, whether on the skin or in the surface or within. And switching back and forth this attention to these different aspects of experience, अनुभव के जो अलग अलग पहलू है उनकी ओर अपना ध्यान ले जाएं बारी बारी. So we typically, the mind goes to whatever is the object of our attention. The mind goes to wherever this flashlight called attention, whatever it throws light on, our mind goes automatically towards that. Notice that no matter where we put our attention, whether thought, feeling, body sensations, sound, touch, smell, taste, sight, we can switch easily between any of these. There are no barriers, no walls between them. हम बारी बारी हर एक जो पहलू है अनुभव के वहाँ जा सकते हैं बिना किसी रुकावट, किसी बाधा, कोई दीवार नहीं. Now notice that even though the object of attention is different, could be a thought, could be a feeling or a sensation, the object of the thought of the experience is different. Notice that the subject of the experience is not changing. The subject of the experience remains the same. जो अनुभव कर रहा है, जो ऊर्जा अलग अलग दिशाओं में अपनी ताकत, अपना ध्यान, अपनी एनर्जी डाल सकती है, लेकिन वो ऊर्जा डालने वाली जो जो ऊर्जा खुद है वो अलग अलग नहीं होती है, वही एक ही है. Notice that this experiencer of all experiences is not changing, is not going anywhere. No matter which direction this flashlight of attention moves, the starting point of this does not change. So rather than bringing your mind to the object of attention, bring your mind and let it rest in the subject of attention. Let the mind rest in the place where attention begins. अपने मन को ध्यान की जो शुरुआत है, स्रोत है, वहाँ पर ले जाएं और वहीं पे विश्राम करें. Just abide in this place, in this field where attention begins. Every thought can be traced back to the thinker. Every feeling can be traced back to the feeler. Every perception can be traced back to the perceiver. Ask yourself the question whether the thinker, the feeler, and the perceiver are different or the same. Ask yourself the question no matter what the thought, is the thinker the same? There can be a million varieties of thoughts, but the thinker of all of these thoughts is the same. We experience millions of shades of feelings, but the feeler is the same. We may have millions of different perceptions, but the perceiver is only one. Notice also that the feeler, the thinker, and the perceiver are not three different entities. There is only one which is experiencing any and all of these three. Ask yourself the question, what is experienced when there is no particular experience present? Ask yourself the question, what is your experience of the experiencer? Even though ultimately the experiencer cannot directly be experienced. Yet, ask yourself whether this space, this field is peaceful or chaotic. Ask yourself whether this field is accepting of whatever is present or does it push anything away. Ask yourself the question, is there any limits to this field in terms of size? Does this field have any limitations of space or of time? Does this space come and go or is it always there? Does this space have a beginning in time? Does this space have an end in time? Does this space have a beginning in terms of a place where it starts and a place where it ends? Notice that there is no start in place, no start in time, no end in time, no end in place. These are all things we have read, these are all things we have heard. Now look and see for yourself. ये सभी हमने पढ़ा है, सीखा है, जाना है, सुना है. आज इस को अनुभव के तौर पर हम देख रहे हैं इसे. Ask yourself the question whether this space changes in any way. An experience appears in this space, and this field becomes one with that experience. And then the experience goes away. Ask yourself if this field is any different from what it was before the experience. Notice the arrival of a thought. Notice the disappearance of a thought. Different thoughts come and go. Whatever is in the gap between the thought, is it in any way affected by the thought? Or does it return to its pristine condition before the thought, after the thought? ये जगह, ये ऊर्जा वैसी की वैसी है, ये बदलती नहीं है, ये अनुभव के तौर पर देखिए. Experiences change, time changes, spaces change, our body changes, thoughts change, feeling changes. But the feeler does not change. The thinker does not change. The perceiver does not change. Ask yourself the question, how do you bring the qualities of this space more and more knowingly into your life, into your thoughts, into your feelings, into your actions, into your body? Ask yourself what would be the quality of your life if each moment was permeated with, informed by, and filled with, knowingly filled with this space. It already is that way. But what if it was filled knowingly? Wonderful. As you open your eyes, allow that presence to knowingly look as if seeing for the first time. Because when you look knowingly, it is as if it's the first time. What would it be like to clearly see that each one of us has a different set of perceptions, a different set of experiences, but all of this is happening in one screen, in one field. So, so it's so so just open your eyes and be here with videos on if possible. Yeah. Hello, Nancy and Vinay. Okay. So हर एक का अपना perception है. Each one of us has their own set of experiences, different. And did you all notice that the experiencer, the feeler, the thinker, the perceiver there is only one? It is all one perceiver. It's not different, a different energy perceiving, different energy thinking, different energy feeling. No, it's not like that. There is only one. So, how do we know that this experiencer, okay, the experiencer that I am experiencing, or I am touching, or I am abiding in, or I am resting in, how do we know that that experiencer that I abide in and the experiencer that Himanshu abides in, or Pratibhavin abides in, or each one of us, how do we know that that is one? That is also one. We can directly experience that there is only one experiencer as far as I can tell, right? But how do I know? How do we know that this experiencer that I am experiencing or touching is only one? Same as yours, same as the other one, same as everyone's. How do we know that? Any thoughts on this? How do we know it's this oneness that we talk about? So we are directly able to perceive the oneness of our own experience. And we have said in the past many times in different ways how all of this is just a dream in one consciousness, that there is only one consciousness. How do we know this? Kaise pata? There was an interesting thing I was just listening to about experiencing this oneness, which what we think is not one. A slightly different level than my initial question about consciousness, but still, let's say you lie down in the shade of a tree, and usually we face away from the tree, but this time imagine that you're lying down under a tree facing the tree. You're lying down facing the tree, and up above you, you can see the canopy of the tree, the leaves. You're looking directly at those leaves, the branches. And at first glance, there is a tree and there is you. And these are two separate, independent beings. It seems, it feels that way. But supposing you continue to lie down there looking up into the tree. आप पेड़ के नीचे बैठे हैं, पेड़ की तरफ देख रहे हैं, ऊपर की तरफ लेटे हुए देख रहे हैं, और आराम से आंखें खोलकर आप सिर्फ सांसें ले रहे हैं, छोड़ रहे हैं, सांसें ले रहे हैं, छोड़ रहे हैं. Now imagine, not imagine, but actually, so notice कि आप, so just visualize this for yourself. You're lying under a tree looking up into the branches and breathing, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. So imagine or visualize, not imagine, visualize and see कि जो सांस आप छोड़ रहे हैं, this carbon dioxide that you're releasing rises and touches the leaves of the tree. And the tree takes that carbon dioxide, breathes it in, and breathes out also. The leaves are breathing out and they're breathing out oxygen. And that same oxygen comes down and you breathe it in. And again you breathe out carbon dioxide. Again it rises, goes to the tree. Carbon dioxide breathed in by the tree, oxygen breathed out. Or photosynthesis, or not necessarily respiration, but this is the process. So again, oxygen coming to you. So in the first instance, if you asked yourself, what is the, आपके जो lungs है वो कहाँ शुरू होते कहाँ ख़त्म होते हैं, तो आप कहते कि मेरे lungs यहाँ मेरे शरीर के अंदर है और वहीं शुरू होते वहीं ख़त्म होते हैं. But if you understand this rhythm of this process, that this carbon dioxide that you breathe out goes to the leaves, leaves change it to oxygen, bring it back to you. You take the oxygen, it goes into your blood, and the blood goes and collects carbon dioxide from everywhere in the muscles and tissues and wherever, brings it back to the lungs. Lungs breathe it out. Again, the tree makes it oxygen, gives it back to you. So would you say now, knowing this, what is the extent of your lungs? Do you notice that your lungs actually don't end in your chest, but they extend beyond you into that tree, and the tree is very much part of this cycle, part of this lung. That your lung is now suddenly has to expand to include the tree, because without that tree, this breathing, ये सांस की जो क्रिया है वो खत्म हो जाती, चलती ही नहीं. तो ये सिस्टम है, यहाँ तक सीमित नहीं है, ये सिस्टम वहाँ उसको भी इंक्लूड करना होगा. And this way, everything is really connected to everything else. Um, there's a koan about, I'm forgetting the exact words, but something about when a butterfly flaps its wing, the universe moves. And that perception of oneness, But another one, what else? How do we know that this consciousness is one? So in a way we now see that this body and the tree are actually one, because without that one, all the trees, all the forests, this entire ecosystem that we live in, without the presence of all of this body does not survive. And the ecosystem extends, at least as far as we can tell, to the sun at least, because without that sun also this body will not survive. So if rather than a narrow definition of this body being the surface of my skin, I extend the definition to say everything that my life depends on is my body. I cannot survive, just as I cannot survive without a heart and a liver and a lung. I cannot survive without these forests. I cannot survive without the water. I cannot survive without the rivers and the clouds and the rain and the air and the breeze and the food and all these bacteria that make food, and then ultimately also the sun, because without that energy that comes from the sun I don't survive. So my physical body itself, it's only a narrow definition to say that my body ends here. My body itself really extends way out to include the entire planet and including the sun. So even at that physical level, this idea of being a separate being, a separate body, is a fallacy. It's a limited view. It's true from one's very small perspective, but we are connected. Everywhere we are connected. And the connection sometimes has to be shown to us in very harsh ways sometimes. You know, Ukraine was who knows what a month or 5 months ago or 3 months ago. We don't care, whatever was Ukraine. Who knows? Now suddenly Ukraine is very much connected because Ukraine, war, oil prices, how much I end up paying at the gas pump, at the petrol station, and suddenly now it's directly affecting me and showing to me and proving that I and Ukraine are not as separate as I thought, as disconnected as I thought. Russia and I are not as disconnected as I thought. And this whole process of expansion, of inclusion, is the whole journey that we are on to. And directly going to that oneness without needing to be taught harsh lessons every now and then, our entire life can become a journey. Instead of a journey of discovering oneness, it can become a journey of being in oneness, living as oneness. Rather than a journey towards God, it becomes a journey in God. So I heard a very interesting insight. So okay, so how do we know this? How do we know that this consciousness is one? That your consciousness and my consciousness are really the same? How do we know? What is the evidence for that? Any thoughts?
We are experiencing, that is the common factor.
Very good, very close. Yeah, we are all experiencing. What is that common thing that we are all experiencing? What is what what
That,
is yeah, no, that's, you are on the right track. Huh, Himanshu?
I feel that whenever we are working or doing that oneness concept, all the things are going very, very smoothly, peacefully, lovably, and enjoyably, or natural way. But whenever we are going to that disturb to that alignment, then everything feels that is something going wrong.
Something going wrong. Very, very beautiful way of putting it. Very nice. So that binding factor, the evidence is that whenever Yeah, this is a very interesting way of putting it, Himanshu, that whenever we so so either one of the two is right. Either consciousness is one, or there are many consciousness. Okay, your consciousness, my consciousness. Okay, now when I operate out of my consciousness and the consciousness of you is one, my consciousness and the consciousness of a tree is one, my consciousness and the consciousness of the planet are one. When we operate like that, things seem to move in a direction of ease, of flow, of okayness, of peace, of joy, of truth. And when we operate out of separation, I can cut a tree, I can destroy forests, I can go and invade people, and I can kill people, and I can do all kinds of atrocious things, because that can only be happening when I think that you and I are separate, right? So separateness. So one way to test the truth of a model is always try it out. But this could be right, or this could be right. So try it out. And if we go to try it out, if we go to try out the thought that you and I are separate, I and the world are separate, I and trees are separate, we seem to go towards destruction. We seem to go towards chaos. We seem to go towards sorrow, grief, unhappiness, pain, suffering. And when we go in this direction, there is peace, there is quiet, there is calm, there is love, there is joy, there is beauty, there is truth. So what else, how else can we ever know something is right anyway? This is the only way we can judge कि यही सही होगा, क्योंकि जब भी हम वो लेके चलते हैं आगे, तब चीजें सही चलती है. Then that must be the right way. Perfect. The evidence is love. If there was no love, then we would have to question whether it is the same consciousness or not. But why, this love for animals, love for people, love for even strangers, love for each other, love for trees, love for the planet, love for the sun? What more evidence do we need? Otherwise, why would there be love? Why would love exist? If your consciousness and my consciousness were truly separate, different, unconnected, disconnected, why would there be love? It's only because they are connected, and in fact, not just connected, but they are the same, which is why such tremendous love exists. So the existence of love is the evidence of ultimately of oneness. The existence of love itself, of love, of laughter. Wonderful. Great. There was something which Osho said once. He said, easy is right. Easy is right. Easy is right. And it's much easier to operate out of oneness than to operate out of separateness. If I have to operate out of separateness, I have to fight with you, I have to conflict, I have arguments, I have pulling here, you're pulling there. And it's not easy. Definitely not easy. So if you want to know which is the right direction, look for the one which is easier, which is
What is simple is close to God.
what is simple is close to God. Another way of putting it the same way. Yeah, what is simple is close to God.
They say when you teach also, if you are putting it very simply, if a child can understand it,
Right.
that is the best teaching.
That's the best teaching.
People make it very complicated, how to reach God and all that. That is not.
Exactly. Because they have for whatever reason, either it's not clear to them, or there is some other other factors involved for making it complicated. Otherwise, it's a very simple 1, 2, 3. Great. Wonderful. Any thoughts or comments from anyone? Question, thought, comment.
नहीं, आपने जो ओशो की बात बोली ना, मुझे एक याद आया।
हाँ.
किसी ने पूछा उनको पाप और पुण्य में क्या फर्क है। उन्होंने बोला कि जो भी काम करने के बाद आपको अच्छा लगता है, इजी लगता है, वो पुण्य है।
पुण्य है.
जो काम करके आपको अनइजी लगता है या आपको परेशानी महसूस होती है,
Correct.
पाप है।
So simple, isn't it? So simple, so easy, and so true. So true. Easy is right. Easy is right. Easy is innocent. And easy is clear evidence that we are all, there is only one consciousness. Yeah, Pankaj?
I was just going to say, I'm just really glad that I'm able to reconnect with this satsang.
Sure. We are glad you're back too.
Yes.
Really. Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. So let's, yeah, and we in the midst of life and in the midst of so many distractions that the universe throws at us, we forget. And that is what makes this gathering important, that we reconnected and stay connected. And ultimately we are connected anyway.
Yeah, and I think that it's a reminder, sort of regular, constant reminder of who we are.
Exactly. In simplest possible ways, without any of the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
आज
I
एक
bow,
बहुत अच्छा
I
बताया।
bow down to the divine that is situated where you are. Thank
Good
you.
night, everybody.
Good night. Great. Thank you.
आज एक
Wait.
बहुत अच्छा एग्जांपल दिया आपने, मतलब उससे मल्टीपल चीजें कर सकते हैं। एक
Yeah.
रेस्पिरेशन वाला आपने एग्जांपल दिया ना,
Right.
तो वो एक्चुअल में ऐसे फुल हुआ कि ये रेस्पिरेटरी सिस्टम या फिर वो ट्री और इसका एक पार्ट है, तो ऐसे करके
Correct.
इससे कनेक्ट होने का एक रास्ता बता दिया।
Exactly. Yeah, the tree was just one example. Varna hum har ek cheez se, the food that we eat today and becomes us has come from the work and the efforts of millions of bacteria which does the nitrogen fixing and whatnot. We are all connected. There is no we are all one. That oneness becomes so obvious at the physical level also, and then at the spiritual level. Great. So let me, okay, thank you. Hari Om Tat Sat.